This is a compelling and emotionally charged narrative, a monologue that slowly builds from quiet humiliation to a quiet reclamation of dignity. The progression is deliberate, raw, and deeply human. The structure creates a steady, simmering intensity that mirrors the narrator's internal transformation, from passivity to resolve. Here are a few strengths and suggestions if you're considering polishing or developing it further. Strengths. Emotional authenticity. The protagonist's voice is authentic and grounded in real emotional pain. The psychological realism here gives weight to the story. Gradual shift in power. The slow but clear power shift from Claire to the narrator is effectively executed, culminating in that restrained, final confrontation. Pacing. The steady pace allows each moment to land with appropriate emotional impact, particularly the pivotal wine-throwing scene and the aftermath. Symbolism. The list, the wine, the locked door, all function symbolically, adding deeper layers to the protagonist's emotional journey. Suggestions for improvement. Paragraphing and structure. Breaking up the text into clear paragraphs will vastly improve readability and emotional pacing. Right now, it's a wall of text, which can be overwhelming even for a gripping story. Tightening redundancies. Some points, like Claire not feeling guilt or the narrator having been passive for years, are repeated in slightly different wording. Consider condensing to keep the momentum. Dialogue. Distinction. Dialogue and narrative sometimes blend together. Clear formatting, like using quotation marks or italics for internal thoughts, will help differentiate voices. Ending impact. The final line. Just like that, the power shifted, is good. But you might consider ending on an even sharper note, perhaps a visual image or a line of action that underscores finality or quiet victory. She dictated how our marriage functioned, how people perceived us, how I saw myself. Claire crafted a narrative where she was the strong, charismatic wife, and I was the weak, pitiful husband, lucky to have her. But now she was the one floundering. I leaned forward, elbows on the table. You've spent years making me feel small, Claire. You've torn me down in front of your friends, your colleagues, hell, even strangers. And every time I let it go, I told myself it wasn't worth the fight, that I loved you too much to make it a big deal. Her eyes flickered, but she said nothing. But last night, I continued, I realized something. You don't love me, Claire. You love control. You love having someone to belittle, someone who makes you feel superior. That's not, she started. I raised a hand. Don't insult me by pretending otherwise. She swallowed hard. I sat back, watching her carefully. I'm not going to post the video if that's what you're worried about. I'm not petty. But I am done pretending. She hesitated. What does that mean? I exhaled slowly. It means things are going to change. Claire wasn't used to this. Me standing my ground, refusing to play along. She tried to mask her unease with indifference, but I saw through it. Fine, she muttered, pushing off the counter. You want to play this little game? Be my guest. She turned and stormed out of the kitchen. I didn't stop her. I didn't need to. Because for the first time in our marriage, Claire was the one walking away uncertain. Her footsteps thundered upstairs, every step laced with frustration. She expected me to follow, to try and talk things through, to beg. That was the cycle. She'd cross a line, I'd call her out, she'd deflect, I'd smooth it over. Then repeat. Not this time. I picked up my coffee, took a slow sip, and let the silence settle. Claire thought she was still in control, but she had no idea how much I had already taken back. While she was humiliating me last night, I had been busy. I pulled out my phone, opened the banking app. The numbers were where I left them, half our shared savings now securely in my personal account, legally mine. Claire had always managed the finances, not because I couldn't, but because she wanted to. She liked knowing where the money went, how much was spent, and how much power she had because of it. She controlled the cards, the bills, the accounts. I had just enough to be comfortable, never enough to be independent. That changed last night. I transferred my half, froze the joint account, removed her access to my card. If she wanted money now, she'd have to dip into her savings. I locked my phone and turned to my laptop. Emails to lawyers were drafted, just inquiries for now. Nothing official yet. But it was only a matter of time, because I was done. Done being her doormat, done being laughed at, done needing her approval. To feel worth something. A loud thud echoed upstairs. A slammed drawer or door. She was angry. Good. Let her be angry. She built this marriage on the belief that I would always stay, no matter how cruel she was, that I would tolerate the cutting, remarks, the dismissive glances, the contempt. But the moment she felt the ground shift beneath her, that's when panic would set in. And I didn't have to wait long. She came stomping back down, face composed but eyes burning. Her phone was clutched tight in one hand. I didn't look up right away. I let her stand there. Finally, I glanced up. Something wrong? She let out a hollow laugh. You think you're clever, don't you? I don't know what you mean. She lifted her phone. My card got declined. I took another sip. That's unfortunate. Cut the crap. What did you do? I set my mug down. I secured my finances. Our finances? She snapped. No, Claire. My finances. I took my share. The rest is still there. For you. You think you can just take half the money like you're entitled to it? I drummed my fingers on the table. Like how you've used it to vacation with your friends, throw parties, buy things you never mentioned, while making me the butt of every joke? Oh my God, you're still on that? It was one night. No, Claire. It was years. She stared at me, lips tight. So what? You're going to punish me? Make me suffer because your ego got bruised? No, I'm just done letting you dictate my life. You're being dramatic. Maybe. Or maybe I'm finally standing up for myself. Her eyes flickered, uncertainty creeping in. So what now? She asked quietly. Now, I said. I start planning my future without you in it. She laughed bitterly. You wouldn't last a week without me. I smirked. That's what you'd like to believe. Her phone buzzed. She looked down, and her expression shifted. The messages were piling in. Her friend had shared that video. It had gone viral. Claire was used to being admired. Now she was being seen, truly seen. You're really doing this? She asked. I am. She turned on her heel and walked away. Let her. She could scheme all she wanted, try to spin it in her favor, but it wouldn't work, because I wasn't playing by her rules anymore. Wow, that was intense and powerfully written. A raw, emotional turning point in a toxic relationship unraveling in real time. The story is layered with long-suppressed resentment, control, and the reclaiming of self-respect. The narrator's clarity and detachment contrast starkly with Claire's denial and unraveling, which creates gripping tension. If you're looking for feedback, I'd say this piece does a great job of conveying power dynamics shifting in a relationship that has long been one-sided. Character development, particularly the narrator's growth from submissive to assertive. Dialogue-driven, storytelling with believable conflict and layered subtext. The truth hadn't changed. This marriage was over, and for the first time in years, I felt free. The day crawled by, heavy with tension. Claire wasn't speaking to me, not out of grief, but out of cold, strategic anger. She wanted her silence. To sting, to make me doubt myself, to guilt me into retreat. But that wasn't going to happen. I spent most of the morning moving my things into the guest room. It didn't take long. There wasn't much. Over the years, Claire had curated every inch of this house to reflect her taste. My presence had been reduced to a few drawers, a sliver of closet space, and one shelf in the bathroom. As I packed, I realized how little of me actually existed here. I had lived in this house for years, but it felt more like I was visiting someone else's life. By mid-afternoon, I was nearly done. My suitcase sat by the door, laptop and documents stacked neatly on the desk. It wasn't much, but it was mine. I was zipping up the last bag when I heard Claire downstairs, on the phone. "No, he's being completely unreasonable," she snapped. "He thinks he's the victim just because I called him out in front of people." I stood by the door, listening. "I don't know what he's planning," she continued, her voice growing sharper. "But I'm not going to sit here and let him make me the bad guy." Then came a bitter laugh. "No, he's not smart enough to pull anything drastic," she said. "I mean, come on, it's him." My hand tightened on the zipper. I'd heard her talk like that for years, like I was some pitiful, helpless thing. She had convinced herself I couldn't exist without her. Couldn't think. Couldn't act. She was wrong. I stepped away from the door. When I walked downstairs, Claire was in the kitchen, arms crossed. She looked up. "You're seriously moving? Into the guest room?" I nodded. "Yeah," she scoffed. "Dramatic much?" I filled a glass with water. "It's called space. Something we probably should have done a long time ago." She watched me, eyes narrowing. "You think sleeping in another room changes anything? You're still here." Not for long. Her expression shifted. She realized this wasn't just a stunt. I was done. "You're serious?" I nodded again. She exhaled sharply. "So that's it? You're walking away?" "No. Claire, you walked away a long time ago. I'm just catching up." "You're so dramatic," she said, almost reflexively. I smirked. "Maybe you just don't like that for once you're not in control." Her eyes darkened. "Don't flatter yourself." "Then tell me, why does it bother you so much?" She frowned. "What, that you're leaving?" Her voice curled with contempt. "Because it's pathetic. You think this is revenge? Like you're proving something?" "No." I shook my head. "I'm finally choosing myself." She hesitated, mouth opening like she wanted to argue. Instead, she pulled out her phone. "You're not going to win," she muttered. I sighed. "Claire, this isn't about winning." "Oh, it is. And you're too naive to see it." She held up her phone. "I talked to my lawyer." I took a breath. "Of course you did. I'm contesting everything." She waited for a reaction, panic, fear, something, but I didn't give her one. I took a sip of water instead. "That's all you have to say?" I set the glass down. "Claire, do whatever you want. Contest it, fight it, drag it out, it won't change anything." She stared at me. "You really think you're untouchable, don't you?" "No," I said calmly. "I just don't care enough to play your games anymore." That struck her. I saw it, the flicker of something real behind her eyes. Fear. Claire thrived on control, and she was losing it. "You're making a mistake," she said. "Maybe, but at least it's mine to make. You'll regret this." "Funny," I said. "I was about to say the same to you." She clenched her jaw, then walked out. I didn't stop her. Whatever she did next, none of it mattered. I was leaving, and this time she couldn't stop it. She didn't speak to me for the rest of the day. At first, I thought it was part of the act, her usual tactic, control through silence. But as the hours passed, I saw it. Something had changed. She wasn't lashing out, wasn't slamming doors. She was processing. For the first time, Claire wasn't reacting. She was realizing. I made dinner, caught up on emails, kept to myself. Occasionally, I saw her in the hallway or by the window, still, thoughtful. She wasn't unraveling in rage, but in silence. She was realizing I wasn't bending anymore. I was done. Later that night, I sat on the guest bed, scrolling through my phone when there was a soft knock on the door. I already knew it was her. I paused, then said, "Come in." She entered slowly. No armor, no performance. Just an oversized sweater, leggings, hair tied back. She looked human. She glanced around. "So you're really doing it?" "I am," she swallowed. I, uh, I checked my email. I leaned back against the pillows. "And?" Her hands twisted in front of her. "You filed. I told you I would." "I didn't think." She trailed off. I waited. She finally looked up. "I don't want this." "Claire." "No, just listen," she said, stepping closer. "I know I've been—" She faltered. "I've made mistakes. I know I haven't treated you right." I raised an eyebrow. "That's an understatement." She nodded. "Yeah, maybe it is." She looked toward the bed. "Can I sit?" I gestured to the chair. She didn't argue. A moment passed before she said, "I don't know when it got this bad." "I do." She met my eyes. "It wasn't just—" "One thing," I said. "It was everything. The way you spoke to me. The way you dismissed me. You made me feel like I didn't matter in my own home." She swallowed. "I didn't mean to." "Yes, you did," I said. "You liked making me feel small. It made you feel big." She flinched. "For years I convinced myself it was just your personality, that if I worked harder, maybe you'd respect me, maybe you'd see me." I shook my head. "But you never did. And you never would." Her hands gripped her leggings. "I don't want you to go." I sighed. "Claire, please," she said softly. It was the first time she'd used that word with me. And for a second, it almost worked. Almost. I studied her. She looked lost, but I couldn't let that sway me. "Do you actually want me?" I asked. "Or do you just not want to lose?" Her eyes widened. The question caught her off guard, and that told me everything I needed to know. She wasn't fighting for love. She was fighting for control. I stood up. "I think you should go back to your room." She stared. "That's it?" I nodded. "Yeah." She hesitated, then stood. At the doorway, she paused, glanced back at me. "I'm sorry," she whispered. I exhaled. "I hope one day you mean that." She flinched, but said nothing, and then she left. I didn't follow. I sat down on the bed, rubbing a hand over my face. It was really over this time. No second-guessing, no doubts. I picked up my phone. For a moment, I just stared at the screen. And then, for the first time in years, I smiled.